Greetings, everybody. Here's my first podcast of 2023. I appreciate everybody watching in 2022, and I'm hoping to have a lot more this year. I get to kick off 2023 in the Year of Rabbit with my student and disciple, Margo Zi Yan. You've seen her in a bunch of the pushing hand videos and applications. On my 60th birthday, I decided that I needed to have my successor named and who was going to follow in the lineage after me. And I'm very fortunate because I have some amazing students and disciples. And I chose Margo after a lot of talking and discussing and planning. And I can tell you that it's been really good for me. A lot more responsibility for her, but it's really good knowing that I have someone that can carry on, and that you can go look for if you need anything with the history, lineage, or form. So I thought, hey, you know what? I really need to do a podcast and introduce you and let her talk instead of just get pushed and moved around. So Margo Zi Yan, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on.
I am happy to have you on. My first standard question is, how did we meet? How did I get to know you? And, how did this come about?
Yeah, we met for the first time in 2008. So I showed up at your studio looking to try out a Tai Chi class.
A free class?
But just backing up a bit to how I got to that door. At that time, I really wanted a personal practice, a workout practice, somewhere where I could go and work out with people. And I put a lot of thought into it, because there's a lot of choices around St. Paul, Minneapolis.
Yes.
And I thought about gyms. I thought about taking classes, like aerobic classes, jazzercise, all that, which there's elements I like about that, but I really thought, even though I was a little bit older, that I still really wanted to try a martial art. And my dad had been talking to me, kind of dropping little tidbits about this practice he had been working on, because he was trying to rehabilitate from a couple heart attacks. And he had taken a Tai Chi class through Elder Hostel with my mom. They had gone up to the North Shore and taken a Tai Chi class. And something really clicked for him. He really felt like, this type of exercise I can do. I feel really good when I'm doing it. And he asked me, have you ever heard about Qi? And I'm thinking, yeah, I heard about it. Well, I don't really know what it is.
What is Qi?
He'd talk about moving his body and doing the roosters and sort of wowing his physical therapist.
And he was feeling?
And he felt energized.
Wow.
And he said, I make sure I get up off my chair and I do certain exercises every day. And I thought about that, and I thought, Tai Chi is kind of mysterious to me at that point. But as a martial art, maybe it's reachable for me, attainable. So I did a little bit of reading, looking around on the internet, and I checked out a couple other gyms or martial arts studios in the area, and I didn't, they kind of scared me off a little bit when I would sort of enter their doorway. It just didn't feel like this was a nurturing place. So I thought, give your school a shot.
Okay.
So I came to one of your evening classes. I think you had a private going on. The door was shut. There were students milling around in the hallway.
Sounds about right.
Some were practicing.
Yep,
I thought, okay, what am I getting myself into? You opened the door. You stood. You're saying hello, smiling. People were saying, "Hi, seafood," and I kind of waited because I was the newbie, and you said, "You're new here."
My keen power of observation.
And I said, "Yes, I'm new, and I'd like to try out your class." And you welcomed me in. You gave me just a quick tour, and you said, "Follow along. We'll start out with warm-ups, circle meditation, and then we'll put you with one of the senior students to get you started." And I got in there, we did the warm-ups, and I thought it felt good, and I was thinking, when are we going to get to Tai Chi?
Mm-hmm.
We did the circle meditation, and when you did the guided
Yeah, the standing
relaxation,
meditation. Yeah.
and you said, relax downward and feel the earth pushing up against your feet. And right at that moment, I thought, I need this. I think I need this meditation more than I need a martial art or a workout type thing. And the rest is history. So I knew I needed meditation and grounding at that point in my life. I was so kind of out of my body right at that time in my life, and that meditation was what drew me in. And I liked the Tai Chi, but for a while it was the meditation.
The standing looks like nothing from the outside. On the inside, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a really good formula for new people. It's like sometimes it takes you a while to learn enough movements to feel good, but when you're doing the standing, you do a couple of positions, and it's like you could get a taste of what relax and sink was like. And that's why we always had, that's why that was always part of class. You know, people would be like, when are we doing Tai Chi? Well, actually you are doing Tai Chi. You know?
Yeah, when you bring the guidance to think about our structure, our alignment, that's all the foundations of Tai Chi.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
You know, except for the moving part, the alignment, relaxation, breath, and you know, the mind and all that. Well, and I mean, you know, yeah, you not only did you take class, but then you actually went on to become one of the board presidents, because it was a nonprofit where I used to teach.
Yeah.
And you were actually, not only did you, you know, learn, but you definitely gave back.
Yeah, I wanted to give back, and it was definitely a huge learning curve being on the board, and wanted to help out in that fashion.
Yeah. No, that's great. So, you know, in the course of study, was there any particular forms or practices besides the standing meditation that, you know, drew you in, or you had an affinity with, or that, you know, what did you like?
Learning the Tai Chi form, I really loved. It was quite a journey. I loved the learning the postures, stringing them together, testing my memory, getting used to my body, just really thinking of my body. I had always done some kind of sports, especially when I was a kid. We were just always outside playing something. And so that part, I thought I new, but then life happens and you get away from some of that. So the Tai Chi, it was athletic, but a different kind of athletic, and it taught me more about my body, about my psyche than at first that I was prepared for, but then I really wanted to keep learning more. And so Tai Chi was my first love, and then when I joined the Women's Push Hands group with Julie leading, it felt scary at first, but then there's that camaraderie that
Yes.
started developing, and then realizing and learning from you and Julie that partner work is really kind of the big challenge. Where it's at, and really kind of learning, testing our where we are in our body, how we relate to another person. So I fell in love with Push Hands. And then there was one, maybe a week or so when you were out of town and Julie was leading the classes, and we could try out a Bagwajan class if we were new. And I thought, I'm gonna show up. And of course Julie was very welcoming, and I said, I just want to try this out, see if I can do it. And she said, you can do it. I know you can.
She's the best.
And we did, started out with some circle walking and started dabbling in the mother palms. And that whole circle walking in the group was energizing, and it felt good. It felt different than Tai Chi and Push Hands, just real dynamic. And I fell in love with that. So I can't, as I'm kind of like leading you down this winding path, I can't really pick one that I love the best. If pressed, I would say Push Hands, Tai Chi are my favorite.
So just for the audience, because I really find this formula works. What I usually do is first 3 to 6 months is I separate the genders, the males and the females. That's really because you don't realize how close the contact can be with the pushing hands, and it's really to just kind of figure out, your own body space, because then you went on to, then we have the mixed class where men and women do pushing hands together, and we can learn from each other. But I really feel like it's just really good. Like I don't, it's kind of like the boys' locker room and the girls' locker room. We can just go there. It's okay. No big surprises, and don't push me there.
Right.
And then you realize that you can get pushed in a lot of crazy places, and then after a while, big boys and girls can play together. Were you able to find some self-defense aspects out of the pushing hands?
Yeah. So as a practical martial arts method, yes, I learned applications and how it can happen, how they work in real time. But I think what self-defense for me, really, I developed my interpersonal skills, and I use them, self-defense, not so much to protect myself physically from unwanted attacks or that kind of thing, but more of body awareness when I'm with people, or when I'm at work, or in a tense conversation. I'm able to have more awareness of where my center is, where my what my body language may be transferring to someone. I feel I can settle myself. I'm still working on that, but I believe that settling myself can help my relationships, or even just a short interaction at a store. And push hands helps with that, because we're face to face, we're touching each other, we're
Real close.
getting into each other's space.
Yeah, really in each other's space.
And I need to also initiate myself. I need to be clear. My intentions need to be clear. Am I pushing to the center, or am I going off to the side?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was going to the center, but really I was going to the side.
Yeah.
And all that, for me, transfers to my way of interacting with people, with society, and the universe spiritually. The dynamic physical part is fun. It's to me it's a much more interesting workout than, say, an aerobics class to music, which can be fun too, but for me I gravitate towards that. And then there's the stories that come with it. It's in class, your stories from Master Liang,
Yeah.
Master Choi, Chen Ching, the Yang family, and the history, the lineage, it goes back so many generations. And then there's the animal stories. There's the postures that are spiritually close or inspired by animals. And that idea that the masters observed, were out in nature, and took those concepts to bring into, whether it's their martial art or health practice. To me, it's pretty interesting.
Well, and it's kind of like, as you were saying about out in the world. Usually out in the world, you're not attacked with a sword or a guando or a 9-section chain whip. But
Right.
people will hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
The other thing is people will intimidate you and get in your space. And how do you deal with it? And in the pushing hands and sticky hands range, we realize that there's lots of space there. Now, because one thing I wanted to talk to you about too, and with some of my other female students, it's different. It's a different world learning martial arts as a female. One thing I've noticed in my teaching career, it's kind of my challenge is to get men to embrace the power of softness, and it's my challenge to get women to acknowledge their power and use it. And there's a lot of lip service. Yeah, I'm empowered. I embrace my power. But then I watch in a situation where there's a lot of times the women will not bring the power out, and I think that's cultural. And I really believe everybody should study martial arts. I really emphasize for women because it's a way to show and acknowledge your power. As little boys, we're always like punching each other in the shoulder and giving each other a noogie and doing the Mr. Spock on the shoulders. But usually girls don't do that. And I remember this one martial arts master. He said that martial arts is not to hurt other people, but it's to study your own power. What do you feel like that? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree that culturally, women tend to be brought up, or girls tend to be brought up to be acquiescent or people pleasers. I know I have those tendencies as well, and we don't want to rock the boat. So, we also want to we tend to be peacemakers
Yep.
more than diving into, like, if we're assertive, then we're worried it's taken the wrong way, that
Yep.
we're being aggressive.
Yep, yep.
So all those things are going on when we're out in the world, and a lot of it has to do with family dynamics too, or when I was born, or that kind of thing. So it's definitely skill building time to really think about myself, think about what my intentions are when I'm that close to someone.
And you know, and that is the flip side with men, to that culturally to be yielding and passive is you're weak, and you know somebody cuts you off, well now we have to get into a fight. You know, when you read The Art of War, Sun Tzu's Art of War, it's all about water and yielding and having the right time to use the power. And I believe it's also cultural for men, like, you know, don't be a sissy, don't be a crybaby. But you know, Taoism, the power of water. You know, tornado is wind, but when there's a tornado, you know, or a tidal wave, it's just water. But when it's a tidal wave, true. You know, I really believe that for men and women, for everybody, children, the elderly, everybody should study some kind of martial art. And not for the, you know, there's just that whole Hollywood thing. Martial arts all about, like, you know, beating people up and stuff. And you know, it's about knowing your power.
Yeah, sort of, I think of it too as self-actualization, and that I'm learning how to put all of me, not leaving anything behind, but it's also leading with heart, with intention, and I also know that we're learning both sides. In Push Hands, we're not only learning how to use our power, how to channel it, but we're also learning how to neutralize.
Yeah.
So it's knowing that aspect keeps it a good, dynamic, balanced learning environment, and also just gives us more to work on.
And have you been shocked or surprised at how much power you do have?
Yes, I'm surprised. I also still have feelings of, okay, was that how, I sometimes am curious, okay, how did that feel on the receiving end? Or, I hope I didn't do it too much, or I hope that felt strong and not tight. So it's a lot of, there's self-reflection going on, but it's a good thing.
I was looking through my photos the other day, and I remember I still have the set of photos I took of all the bruises that you gave me, and I sent them to you. And I was really proud that you bruised the hell out of me. And I know you were like, well, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, this is really good. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are little calling cards, you know. Master Choi has given me plenty.
Yeah.
You know, and back to what you were saying about like an interesting exercise. Master Choi said, martial arts are a good way to get a workout, get healthy, learn some self-defense skills, have some spirituality, meet new people. I mean, I wouldn't have met all the wonderful people that I know. The vast majority are from martial art training.
Yeah.
And there really is a brotherhood, a sisterhood. There really is a family in it, and you know, if it's done the right way.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Now, speaking of Master Choi, you had the good fortune of taking some seminars and studying with him and hanging out with him. What was your impression of him?
Yeah, Master Choi, when he gave his seminars, I just got a sense of a strong leader, skills, and he transmits them and he teaches them clearly.
Yep.
And but also with a smile on his face. So he, while he's intense, he also has, I think he teaches with a lot of heart. And I remember standing in front of him doing a couple of the animals, and knowing he had my back. He really wanted to give me constructive feedback.
Yep.
And he would give me 2 to 3 things to think about. I did him he had did a couple repetitions, and he just would say, "Now remember that. Remember how that feels. Keep working on that." And then he'd go on to the next person, and patiently, each person was somebody fresh. He'd look at their alignment, what they're doing, and he could come up with fresh guidance for the next person. And his seminars lasting, 2-3 hours, the stamina.
Do you remember that time where I think we were even eating and we were standing, and at some point the whole room was finally sitting. Our feet were killing us, we were finally sitting, and Master Choi was still standing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a powerhouse. You know, he said to me one time, he said, "I don't worry that you're going to get all my knowledge and techniques." He said, "I'm worried you won't." And, you know, the same with Master Liang. He always said, "I want my students to be better than I am." You know, you could really feel that. Like, he really...
He cared.
He cared. He
Yeah.
wanted to impart that. There was no holding back. And talk about a guy that with a lot of power, a lot of martial art. I mean, he was a world champion.
Yeah.
But he never had the bravado or the ego. He was there doing the job, teaching.
Yeah. And as a woman taking his class, I felt like he treated me with equanimity as
Yep.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, he never treated women differently or talked down or you know, whatever. He taught you were a student.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great experience. Let's talk a little bit, put you on the spot. Let's talk about your daily practice, because I know you got one. You better have one.
Yes. Yeah, fair question. So daily practice, I'm pretty organic in what I do, but I always start out with some kind of warm-up. So warm-up could be the string of warm-ups that we do in class, or a warm-up could be some circle walking for me, or the mother palms, or all aspects of the circle, just to mix it up, but to get my body moving,
Get some
get
blood
the
flowing.
energy.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I do a mix of, back up, then I usually do some standing meditation, and then I do some of the Qigong. So I'll rotate between the Taiji Qigong and the brocades. So maybe every other day. And then I do a mix of the conditioning drills. So Master Choi is the weight, some of the sensitivity stuff, and then I do post training like every other day, and I rotate between that and the bands, the bands.
Yeah, the resistance bands, yeah.
Yeah. And then I do a few strings postures to warm up, and then do the form, the long form, and fast form, and then I get into some Bagua weapons, and a little bit of the Shi, and try to mix up. So in choosing which ones its class material kind of gets prioritized. And something like the fan form, maybe I'm doing that once a month
Mm-hmm.
or something like that.
Just to keep it
Yeah,
there.
keep it present.
Yep.
Winter practice, because I have to move indoors
Yeah.
and I'm not doing certain weapons, but summer I bring out the spear, the staff and guando, and just a lot of rotation, different stance works, like the 60, make sure I get some 60-40 with
Yep.
the active steps or the natural stepping, just kind of trying to get a little bit every day.
Excellent. That I mean, so because I'm a Capricorn, I have to do the same thing every day because that's what
Okay.
Capricorns do.
Okay.
Except on Sunday, Sundays are my absolute favorite day of the week. I practice whatever I want, whenever I want. It's, and like you, if outside, and it's just so fun to have all these wonderful practices and weapons, and and you can kind of mix and match, and I do some physical conditioning, I do some weights, and I do stuff, but there's something about martial art training. It's just for the exercise and the variety. It's just fun.
It is fun. Yeah. Yep. And just the different ways to move my body, to stay coordinated, to just work on different things. It's never gets old.
Yeah, move it or lose it, and we put our body in martial arts. We use different positions and movements that we don't do in normal life, and it just keeps the body, young and flexible. So
Yeah, that's the plan.
it is. Well, that is the plan. So I'm gonna get off martial arts, and I'm gonna ask you a question that I ask everybody. And it can be either a really hard question or easy question, or whatever, but I'm just gonna ask you this question: what is your happiest memory?
Well, I think you know me by now that I can't pick a happiest, but
Well,
I think one that stands out for me is several years ago. It was winter, right after kind of a big snow like we've just had, and we went down to Frontenac State Park with our cross-country skis.
Oh,
And going through the woods on the trails, and it was a brilliant day. It was cold but brilliant. The sun was out and it was sparkling and just beautiful. And there's one section of the trails where it's kind of precarious, right on the side of the bluff, and for whatever reason, I just felt really at one in that time, and I wasn't afraid of falling. I was striding along. The snow was perfect, and going down a hill, and I just felt at one. I didn't fall. I felt like, yeah, let's fly, and I felt that something was just aligned with me that moment, nature, and I could feel like my ancestors were like smiling down, like,
wow.
this is meant to be,
Wow.
this moment right now, and pretty magical.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I know Frontenac is. We've discussed this many times. It's just a magical state park. Okay, Minnesotans, if you have not been to Frontenac State Park, don't go. I want it all to myself. It's absolutely beautiful on the bluffs, overlooking Lake Pepin.
Yeah.
It's well worth the ride. Well, Zurian, I have one last question for you.
Sure.
I mean, this has been great. I feel like I know you, but I really feel like I learned a whole new new facet or aspect about you, so this has been wonderful. Another tough question. It's a tough one.
Okay.
So you take out your magic crystal ball,
Mhm.
and you look in there, and you see the future, or you see something in there. Tell us what you see.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
It is tough. So I think I'll narrow it down to my realm.
Mm.
So I look in my crystal ball and I see me older.
Mm.
We're all on the clock. But I also see someone who's stayed true to herself,
Mm.
stayed with her practice,
Mm.
our practice, and even though she's older, maybe moving a little slower, she's still stable.
Excellent.
She's still centered. She has things to contribute to society, to her friends, to her family, and that practicing meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong is part of that.
Mm.
And that's what I see.
Beautiful. That's a lovely thing the crystal ball has showed you.
Thanks for the question. I wasn't quite sure how I would answer, but that's what I had to offer.
Well, again, there's no wrong answer, because
Yeah.
you know this is
Yeah.
I love that's why I love asking that question. You know, happiest memory in the crystal ball. I learned so much, and you know, Paul Gallagher and some of my other interviews have been really great. So I never know what anybody's gonna say.
So can I ask you what you see in your crystal ball?
Oh, you're turning the tables on me? Okay. So if I look at my crystal ball,
Mhm.
what I see is that changes are going to come too fast for human beings. The change is going to be too quick to adapt and too great to adapt. And I think what's going to happen is humans are going to slow down and get back to being human in nature, being natural. So I really believe that with everything that's going on in the world, we'll find our naturalness again.
Mhm.
And that's by going slow, like Tai Chi, slow, soft, and smooth.
Yeah.
I really think at some point won't be able to handle all the changes, and we'll go, hey, time out, I've had enough, I'm going to go skiing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go practice Tai Chi, I'm going to get out in the woods, and I really believe it's going to be good for humans. So I've heard this, that hope is not a good strategy, but I'm quite hopeful. My crystal ball is full of hope.
Nice.
So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your insight.
Well, everybody, this has been great. I really appreciate Margo, and really, she knows the lineage, she knows the history, and I've got so many excellent disciples. Fred Sparks, Julie Sisler, Richard Roy. I could go out of state. Brian Davis, Diane Cannon. There's so many, and they all are wonderful. And I had to pick one, and I picked Margo. And she's got the lineage, she's got the history, she's got the forms. I think you can feel from her. You know, she is as in love with Tai Chi as I am, and it's just been a really good thing. And I can tell you, I sleep really. My responsibilities really. I a big load off my shoulders. I put it on you, and but seriously, this has been really good. So I'd like to do this again. I'll have another set of questions, and maybe you'll have a different look in your crystal ball.
All right.
Yeah. You know, maybe you'll see me with the hair or something. I don't know. But
all things are possible.
It's, you know, sooner or later. Well, everybody, really, I appreciate all your feedback, your suggestions. I've got a bunch of people I'm going to interview for podcasts, and I do have some more lessons coming. If you like this, subscribe, hit the like, do the whole thing, and I appreciate all the subscriptions so far. So, uh, it is time to end. Happy New Year, a happy 2023. In a couple of weeks, it'll be Year of the Rabbit. It's gonna be a lucky year. Everything's gonna be wonderful, and I wish nothing but health and peace of mind, well-being for you all. So, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.